Oh, hello, Bl'Artagnan here, bringing you Terra's Humbabas, Chapter 3, Act 2, Part 1? What numbers, Jesus. Ancient Monster. It's the Humbabas. We've seen these dudes before. I have a couple new tricks this time, but we're going to see if old Exdeath and a couple of his lady friends can take this down. I did pull for Terra's LD and ended up getting it after maybe, 40 tickets, 100 tickets, some tickets, I don't know. 10 pulls can be kind of hard to track. But I wanted to try to clear this without using synergy, because, it makes the game a little more interesting. And I thought Exdeath would actually be pretty good here. I know in a lot of these fights, I bring him along more for the memes and because I enjoy the character, and less because he's, actively a good choice. But these humbabas are immune to a lot of debuffs. Basically every stat down in the game they're immune to. And I saw that and said to myself, well, Exdeath can still lower their attack, and if they are immune to that, that means the devs think that that's something they don't want happening, so hey, what if I just lower their attack anyway? And it ends up helping quite a bit, ignoring those early breaks you're seeing there. Once Exdeath gets set up with his debuffs between him and also the debuff armors on him and Ulti, they're not going to be hitting too hard, which is pretty great. I say as Saga gets broken again. Beyond that, Ultimacia is kind of critical for kind of getting through this fight with this team. Mostly mostly for the damage. She just brings some tremendous magic damage, and also because her EX lets you get around the threshold mechanic that they have, where they require you to take. They delay themselves a bit, become completely undelayable, including by break. With the frame turns, and then you need to take, I think, 8 actions before they go. Otherwise, they do a big ol' hit, dispel you, hit. I think it's survivable, but they also delay you a bunch by it. You don't want to get hit by it if you can avoid it. So, the game plan here basically will be to try to get them down to 80%, and then make sure Ulti can have access to her EX, so we can use a combination of that and a couple of AAs, calls, things like that to kind of delay until they've lost that frame turn. You'll also notice Sarah's on the team, and she's just fantastic with both Exdeath and Ulti. Improving Exdeath's HP damage dealt and overflow and all that, and battering both of them, including the Ulti loves aura-based battery, and that's what Sarah's bringing here. So Ulti's going to be really benefiting from that. I actually originally tried bringing Aerith, and the lack of aura regen and also the lack of turn efficiency really kind of hurt me. So yeah, Sarah's still holding her weight. So see there, I was kind of being a little... Another thing with Ulti in this fight is I was trying to be kind of conservative with her skills as per usual. Just because I wasn't sure if Exdeath's damage would be enough to kind of support her on her own. Normally I think Ulti with 2 good supports is probably going to be able to get through a fight without too much trouble, but I was worried that Exdeath would be kind of hindering that a bit. Another thing Exdeath is good for here, though, is the shields that they get. That's another thing on top of everything else that they get is, they get a big old... Well, actually, compared to some of the shields we've seen, 27,000 isn't that big, but HP attack here because Exdeath can very casually with his S2 just kind of eat the entire shield without losing any damage, which is nice. I try to do that later in the fight and it doesn't quite go so well, but just an added benefit. So using the AA there, I'm trying to keep track of how many skills we've used, since I don't, if we can avoid it, I don't want to use all of my A's and stuff. You also see there, I thought that Ulti's EX refreshes her stacked Maleficum buff, but it doesn't, and so she lost her plus skills there. So have a nice awkward kind of zoom in on her for a second while I contemplate what I just did there. It doesn't cost me that much damage in the long run, but it was like, oops, thank God for that LD button. I was planning on pressing it anyway, so it ended up being lucky. So there we go, we have stalled them out. Time to start reapplying our stuff. I know the EX button's up, but I figured they're having a few turns come up, so I want to get some poison on them. I guess I probably could have used Almaguest there to get a stronger poison, but either way. You can see here, these guys just are dealing basically no damage to us with their hit point attacks. I haven't brought any healer on this team, you'll notice. The only healing we have is from Hope's Call, which we're not going to be using for healing. And Sarah is holding Rem's Call as kind of an emergency button for if I get to the end of the fight and find that I'm missing the hit point requirements. In most other fights, something like maybe a Cecil Call would have been better, but since these guys counter elemental attacks, I didn't want to, I'm using that at the end of the fight. I want to make sure it's something non-elemental, and I think Rem's Call heals for the most of all the base calls, but I could be wrong about that. In the meantime, we're just kind of hitting with Ulti. It's nice to see her deal 40,000 damage on kind of a unboosted hit thanks to Sarah. Normally I think it's closer to like 20, 27,000. It's just not impressive. So I get a bit lucky in this fight actually, because Exdeath ends up eating a bunch of needle shots, and they're very small, but he has built-in health regen, so I kind of luck out not having to worry about any sort of healing situation. Again, they're dealing so little damage, I'm not sure if it would have mattered had they hit Ulti or Sarah with it, but it was kind of just a little comforting throughout the fight to be like, okay, they keep targeting Exdeath, I'm cool with that, whatever. He doesn't need to be taking turns to be having an impact, and he heals up, so the impact isn't felt when they hit him. The orb, which I haven't talked about, is to deal non-elemental magic damage. It's kind of an interesting orb to me because it's not that it's like, it's similar to the Jack orb where it's like not something you actually have to like respect as much as just it's like, okay, make sure you aren't a doofus and remember to bring someone who deals non-elemental magic damage. So it's kind of nice that sometimes they use the orb less as like just kind of an obstacle to dance around and more of just like a, hey, for this fight, make sure you check this box. Just kind of reassuring for me that the devs are kind of thinking about it in different dimensions like that. Now, multi-burst. The way we're going to deal with their second threshold is by deleting all their turns leading up to it, and about 10% is about how much I expect to get out of this burst plus the turns leading up to it. Because the important thing is, I don't want to hit them to go below 50 because of the burst. I want Ulti to take a couple turns after this to delete their turns, because once they frame them, once we go below 50, that's it. No more turns. Being deleted. So 52, we're kind of on the line there. Luckily, Ulti, because of her EX being used in the burst, gets that immediate free turns. And notice that, again, as I think I've said in previous videos, I use the skills when she has her like overhead buff. Don't use any HP pluses there. Because you want to charge the EX when you're on those free turns, which wouldn't charge using HP pluses, I think. I don't know. And so, another fairly crappy Hell's Judgment this time. For that same reason, and then we kind of throw this out. Again, as you can see, this didn't quite work out in terms of having Exdeath eat the shield, but we're still in a pretty good position in terms of you can't see their turns, meaning we don't have to worry about that red aura causing us trouble. So at this point, we kind of figure we're going to be going in pretty hard on these guys for the rest of the fight. The last threshold that we're going to be dealing with is going to be 29%, and for that we're just bringing in Terra Friend, and she's just going to take 5 free turns in a row, and it's going to be great. I guess the one thing about this team that it's kind of missing is a period at which the team is taking advantage of a burst effect. Because in Ultimisia's case, it's purely utility, and in Terra's case, she's going to burn through all those burst turns and jump out. I think there's actually an issue people who use Terra in their main team are going to run into, where they is balancing her. And this is something Lightning also used to have to deal with, is balancing her, how many turns she takes really fast through her LD, with how, letting the team take advantage of that effect for a long period of time. I'm not really sure what the correct answer is there. I think when I use Terra, I'm going to try to maybe mix it up a little bit. Maybe I might start with the LD when I first use her in the bird. I don't know. We'll see. Just to kind of maximize that effect. But I don't know. We're theory crafting for a character who isn't even on the team right now, so maybe I should leave that for another video. We're doing pretty good on skills here, I think. And I think the fairly conventional thing to do here is to swap Ulti out, just like blow through all their skills and swap her out for your friend. I ended up swapping out Exdeath because I figure, like, A, he's slow, B, he doesn't provide value being on the field, his debuffs are already up and doing things, and C, most importantly, I forgot that Terra was going to eat through all her turns, and I thought to myself, oh, this will give Ulti a chance to take advantage of Terra's burst effect. Which is not... Well, okay, that's actually... It ends up working out better than I had planned, because she does get a little bit of time before Terra goes into, murder mode. Unfortunately, her ult isn't... Her EX isn't up, so she isn't able to kind of do a bunch of awesome chain turns. So, not as beautiful as it could have been, but it's plenty functional in terms of putting us in the position we want to be in. Here, this is actually my first time using Terra, friend or otherwise, and so I was kind of thinking, oh well, you use the her skill 2 when it's free because it has the double dump. Forgetting that as a friend you could just spam the EX or the LD, which has a AoE double dump for twice as much damage. So the more you know. This is something I kind of figured out, during this run, because this was actually the first, the first successful clear of this stage for me, and it was like my second attempt at it overall. Again, the Aerith one didn't work out, but and with that, in that case, I was using an ulti friend, which again, not as much damage, no synergy bonus. So I think overall I was happier with this setup with Sarah in the party and Terra as the friend unit. At this point, I'm not exactly sure how many turns B has, because I kind of assumed it would have dropped by now. But it's okay, because Ultimecia has her EX up, and that means, yeah, we're no danger of that thing going off. Now it's basically just coming down to trying to blow through Ulti's skills as quickly as possible without, drying her out and having to rely on HP pluses if we can avoid it. That was a disappointingly small maelstrom. There we go. Sarah putting in some work now. And I was on the fence about using this in the turn versus out of the turn. I could have used the EX there, but I figured this will give a couple more, free turns to the team overall for these guys to hit. I'm glad I did, because let them get some really good AoE damage in for pretty free, and now I can go into the EX from outside the summon, which keeps the turn count a little bit lower. That's a variation of an issue you've probably seen some other people run into, where they use the Terra Friends LD or the regular Terra LD in the summon and just kind of waste the free turns that it gives, because the summon's already free turns basically. As you can see, we're closing this out though. This was not super scary. You need to bring a decent amount of damage. These guys are tanky, and the turn count is not restrictive, but 75 is kind of the point at which you should be trying to bring relatively modern characters, or if not modern, effective characters. Shoutouts to all the Realm Rooms I'm seeing. That's pretty awesome to see her still kicking it. Yeah, there's the big massive needle shot plus that deals 4,000 HP damage. That Rem call ended up being completely unnecessary, which is cool. Now one final Protean sword should do it. There we go. That's Humbaba Lufenia down. These guys can be jerks, so I'm glad that went pretty swimmingly. And it feels nice to clear with Exdeath on the first go without instead of going back to it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the run. Maybe give the video a like if you did. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content like this, and I'll see you around. Thanks for watching.